Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Daily Dollars. If you've been paying attention to the headlines out of Washington lately, you may have noticed a recurring theme. Never-ending political debates over tax cuts, ballooning federal deficits, and deep uncertainty about the future of key government programs like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Today, we're taking a comprehensive look at two parallel stories that could shape the financial well-being of millions of Americans. On one side, the Republican Party is reworking a massive tax cut package, a plan that once aimed to deliver sweeping and permanent tax relief but is now being sharply scaled back. On the other hand, new polling data reveals overwhelming opposition to cuts in federal benefit programs, even among conservative voters. Together, these stories paint a picture of a political landscape under pressure from both fiscal constraints and voter sentiment. We will break it all down, so stick around. Before we dive in, do me a quick favor, like this video and subscribe to Daily Dollars so you never miss any updates regarding Social Security and personal finance. Alright, let's get into it. Let's begin with the Republican tax agenda, a core part of the party's economic platform heading into the next election. Initially billed as a bold, historic overhaul of the federal tax code, the proposal was championed by President Donald Trump, who pledged to deliver what he described as the largest tax cuts in history. His vision included zero taxes on overtime pay, tips, and even Social Security benefits, policies aimed at energizing working class and senior voters alike. The idea was to build on the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act and make those earlier cuts permanent while adding new ones targeting middle-income earners. But as lawmakers returned to Capitol Hill and began putting numbers on paper, reality began to set in. The initial framework proposed roughly $4.5 trillion in tax reductions over the next decade, with $2 trillion in spending cuts meant to offset the cost. That balancing act quickly proved untenable. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson has now acknowledged that the plan is being trimmed to around $4 trillion, and without the full spending offsets initially promised. As a result, many of the tax benefits, including reduced individual tax rates and small business deductions, may now only be extended temporarily for 4 to 8 years rather than made permanent. The implications of this shift are significant. Temporary tax cuts create uncertainty for both households and businesses trying to plan for the long term. And more importantly, they dilute one of Trump's signature policy promises. With fiscal space tightening, lawmakers are now considering controversial trade-offs. One proposal that has gained traction, albeit quietly, involves increasing the top marginal tax rate from 37% to 39.6% to fund broader middle-class relief. That would mark a reversal of a key pillar of the Republican tax philosophy and suggests growing internal divisions over how best to proceed. While tax debates dominate committee rooms in Washington, a very different conversation is happening across the country, especially in deep red states like Tennessee. A newly released poll from Vanderbilt University sheds light on how voters view the future of federal benefits, and the findings are striking. Despite Tennessee's strong support for Donald Trump in the 2024 election, more than 90% of respondents across all political affiliations said they oppose any cuts to Social Security and Medicare. Let's break that down. Only 6% of voters in the survey supported reducing Social Security benefits. Among Republicans, support for cuts was just 7 to 8%. Democrats and independents registered even lower levels of support for cuts, ranging from just 3 to 9%. When asked about Medicare, the numbers were even more lopsided. Only 2% of all respondents supported any reduction in funding, including just 3% of Republicans and 0% of Democrats. The response on Medicaid was slightly more divided but still showed strong resistance to cuts. Just 10% of respondents overall supported reductions, with support peaking at 20% among Republicans and dropping to 4% among Democrats. These results make one thing clear. Even in a strongly Republican state, there is widespread support for maintaining, and in some cases strengthening, the federal safety net. These polling results complicate the work of Republican lawmakers who are seeking to rein in federal spending while still honoring campaign promises. House Republicans have floated a range of cost-cutting measures to offset their tax plan, and many of those proposals involve rolling back funding for safety net programs like Medicaid and SNAP. But those ideas are facing resistance, not only from Democrats, but also from some House Republicans, particularly moderates. Moderate Republicans, especially those from competitive districts, have expressed concern that significant reductions to social programs might be unpopular with constituents and politically risky. According to a recent report by the Congressional Budget Office, one of the Medicaid reform proposals under consideration could lead to over 3 million people losing coverage, with 1.5 million becoming uninsured. While this might save the federal government an estimated $225 billion over a decade, the potential human and political costs are significant. With healthcare remaining a top concern for voters, especially in post-pandemic America, even the suggestion of large-scale Medicaid cuts is proving to be a hard sell. Adding to the internal Republican friction is the issue of the state and local tax deduction, the cap on state and local tax write-offs, which currently sits at $10,000. Lawmakers from high-tax states like New York and California are demanding the cap be raised to at least $30,000, arguing that the current limit unfairly penalizes their constituents. But their requests have been met with resistance from colleagues in lower tax states, some of whom called the proposal insulting and insufficient. So where does all of this leave us? At this moment, the Republican tax plan remains in flux. Key committees, including Ways and Means, Energy and Commerce, and Agriculture, are expected to hold critical meetings in the coming weeks. These groups control the legislative levers necessary to push the tax package forward. But with deep divisions over spending cuts, tax priorities, and public opinion, the path ahead is anything but clear. President Trump continues to play a central role in shaping the agenda. He's repeatedly taken to social media to reiterate his pledges: no taxes on tips, overtime, or Social Security. In a recent post, he doubled down on his message, stating, "No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on senior Social Security, and much more." However, analysts note that not all of these proposals may make it through the legislative process, and even if they do, they may only be temporary. Meanwhile, political analysts suggest that changes to federal entitlement programs, even if small, could shift the political landscape over time. While Tennessee and similar states are unlikely to flip politically in the near term, voter reactions to benefit cuts or failed tax promises could play a role in tight congressional races. At the end of the day, this all comes down to a complex balancing act. Republican leaders are trying to deliver meaningful tax relief while navigating budget realities, internal divisions, and strong public opposition to cutting the social safety net. For working Americans, seniors, and small business owners, the stakes couldn't be higher. What are your thoughts? Do you believe federal programs need reform to remain sustainable, or should they be protected at all costs? Let us know in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an important update. Thanks for watching us. We will see you in the next video.